So reality is this. It's what is. It's everything that appears now. This. This is non-duality or Advaita. It's this. This is what's being looked for by the person, by the identity of the person who thinks that it has a life with a beginning and an end, purpose, free will, choice, intention, and hope that it's going to get what it's looking for. The problem for the person is it's looking for this, which is already before it started looking. The reality is, more than that, is that the person doesn't really exist. Well, that's not right the way I'm going to say it. It's completely unreal. It's an imagination of itself, you could almost say, that never actually happens. But as long as it does happen, it lives in a life. It lives in a life of subject-object, where it's impossible for it to see the reality of what is. It makes everything real, only fixed, only solid. Because it feels itself as real, fixed, and solid. And it lives then in a world of real, fixed, solid things, where it has to act in a certain way, be a certain way, to get what it thinks it wants. What it doesn't realize are two things. Well, it doesn't realize quite a lot, but two things it doesn't realize is, one, that what it wants is this, and two, it can't find this. So in the end, what this identification, this person is looking for, is the end of itself. I could also say that this is nothing appearing as something. The big misunderstanding is often that what appears comes out of nothing and appears as something. The reality is that this is nothing. Tabling. This is what is this itself is what it's looked for as reality. This. Reality, seen for what it is by no one, is recognized as pure, as timeless, as impersonal, as love, as paradise. And I think that's where a lot of these concepts come from. For example, pure. That pure, the idea then is taken by an identity, a person. Somebody hears this is pure, and it thinks that it has to make itself pure to recognize or become one with what is. Because what is heard as pure. Like in the Zen books that I'm reading, they talk about the object is to see everything as empty. And that seems to me what happens there is you have somebody who's recognized reality, and then you have a me that comes in, a person, identity that says, he says everything's empty. So what I need to do is see that everything's empty. And the fact is you can't see that everything's empty. It's not something that needs to be done. It already is that way. No one can ever do seeing emptiness. Everything is already empty. It doesn't need to be done. And that's just sort of like thinking. Thinking was often thought of as something that needs to be stopped. Because it is true that as long as there's a me there and thinking goes on, the me will attach itself to thoughts and try to work things out and make sense of it and find meaning and purpose in the thoughts that are happening. And that creates a sort of a circle of thinking going around and round. And what happens when no me is there is nobody takes hold of the thoughts. Thinking doesn't stop. The attachment or the looking at it, the stickiness of wanting to find something in thinking stops. So thinking still does whatever it does, just nobody cares. the same with the feeling. And I think this is the misunderstanding with the Steinende Buddha, with the stone Buddha, who's unmoved by everything. Because pure would think that there wouldn't be anger in it. We have all these concepts about emotions. If an enlightened person or someone who's free, there is no enlightened person and nobody is ever free. But when there is no one left, that there would be no unhappiness or no anger or no depression or no jealousy or none of these emotions. And that's just not the case. The case is that everything can arise. It's just nobody cares in the same way as before. It doesn't take a person to want to get away from unhappy feelings. But there's nobody needs to judge an unhappy feeling to get away from it. The person comes in and then tries to come out, where did it come from and what can I do about it in the future and all these things, without anyone here, that just the emotion, the unhappiness, the argument or whatever just comes and does whatever it does. The difference is when the situation is over, the situation is over. Nobody's left to make a deal out of it. So, that was a lot.